We can't put emails on here, or we can't post the presentation to YouTube, but we can put out Jenny's email if you'd like to volunteer. If you want to put something in chat, if you're interested in signing up for Teacher and Staff Appreciation Committee, there's always lots of jobs, lots of things going on that whole week. Pardon my dog. Um, So we need to gather donations. We have different jobs throughout the week and getting prepared for it in the coming weeks before. She's going to start having some calls and some meetings. There'll be a sign up genius. So if that's something that interests you, please let us know and to help out in any way that you can. It's a big job, but it's one that is so greatly appreciated to honor and appreciate the teachers and the staff as well in the school. So looking out for that. Please keep that in mind coming up. Next slide. Also, at the end of the year, of course, we want to honor and appreciate our seniors. And you do not have to be a senior parent to volunteer to help out with the senior prom and the end of year senior activities. This email we can post because it is a school email. Christina Pneumatigatos, I can pronounce it, is our senior coordinator, and she is one of the teachers at the school, and she coordinates all the things for the seniors, and has got a committee together as well. If you'd like to help out with that, they are starting to get together designs and ideas for the senior prom. I believe it is a Vegas type theme, which is really fun. And as well as the end of the year senior activities, senior week. There's lots of different activities going on through the whole week for the seniors, lots of fun things for them, different swag items, different activities for them, just lots of ways to celebrate and let them have a lot of fun right at the end of their final year at Arlington Tech. So again, you do not have to be a senior parent if you want to help out with that. It's just a great way to give back, a lot of fun, a great way to meet other parents and help out the seniors. So let us know if you are interested in volunteering. And last but not least, another great way to volunteer is to help out our committee, ATAC, the Arlington Tech Advisory Committee, the meeting that you are on right now. We are going to start pretty soon looking at filling up our committee board for next year, which is the executive board for the committee, as well as lots of different volunteer leadership roles, great and small. So we're talking the chair position, which is my role, vice chair, which is Heidi, our secretary, who couldn't be with us tonight, Shayna, and our treasurer, who is Sam. Yay. So, and then there's, like I said, tons of little or volunteer roles, big and small. Like I said, Jenny, who's leading, teacher appreciation, lots of other different committees, senior prom, dance committee, all those types of things, little roles, all these different ways that you can help out ATAC. We have this Google interest form if you are interested in helping out in any way. That we could also put in the chat, and we will send that out as well through Parent Square, just as another way that you can get in touch with us. Let us know how you're interested, what you're interested in doing, different ways that you can help out. But we will be starting a push for this pretty soon. So keep that on your radar. Next up, we'll hear from Dr. Van Laer.
Hi, this time I'm going to start with the pictures on the slide because I forgot to even mention them last time. So we had Black History Month celebration actually on March 2nd. We didn't get it into February, but it was a huge program on March 2nd during third period. And what I loved about this one is they organized it around the idea of HBCUs. And students did presentations as if they were professors teaching us about Black history. And and it was this is a great picture from Mr. Jones of one of our students, and it was a really, really fun, high energy celebration. The picture next to it is of all the people in the Commons is a Girls in STEM mentorship. We had uh, 15 volunteers come on Monday and sit with some of our Girls in STEM cohort and talk to them about their journey and their careers, and they were matched up by interest. And then the picture on the bottom are some of our seniors wearing the ridiculous glasses they had to wear in order to stay safe during Assassins. So Assassins is going on. Students were in face paint today. They were singing songs yesterday. They were in swim gear the day before. So you're never quite sure what they're coming in if you're not following it. But Assassins is going on and going strong. So adding a little bit of interest to the day. the list that I have are some dates of things coming up. You saw perhaps a parent square about a review and implementation committee for GHC. And we have a lot of families or parents who signed up from Arlington Tech to be on this committee. So I think it's very well represented. This isn't a decision-making committee, and it was tasked by the school board to have this committee so that everybody involved in moving over to GHC is reporting back to this committee so that there's kind of a check of what people's plans are and how they're implementing what the school board wanted to see implemented. So it's kind of reviewing and overseeing the implementation plan. So thank you to the people who signed up, if anybody did, to volunteer to be on that. And I don't have really any more information on that, but that's what I was told that it was about. On March 13th, tomorrow, the ninth graders are having a Pie Day fundraiser. They have a whole slew of teachers who have volunteered to be pied during lunch. And so it's whipped cream on plates, basically, and Aaron Turner Alora and Juliet and Soraya are all planning on during lunches. It's $4 a pie, and then the teachers are agreeing to be pied for the good community and in celebration of the ninth graders. So if your student has any cash tomorrow, they can bring it and partake in that during lunches. On March 19th is Off the Pike. This is the last culinary arts restaurant to happen in ACC. So you can make reservations and be part of the Off the Pike. The information is in the last newsletter that I sent out. We have another Girls in STEM mentor session happening next Monday. Mock interviews, our juniors, and Mickey and Nicole will talk about this a little bit, but our juniors are going to be participating in mock interviews on March 25th. So we hope that they come dressed professionally. And I know that they have already done a session where they explained what mock interviews are to juniors, and they will be giving them the questions so that they can prepare ahead of time for mock interviews. And it's always a very positive experience. Mickey and Nicole do an outstanding job of reaching out to try to connect students with careers that they're interested in. So they're actually interviewing with somebody who's within their industry in some way. And then last but not least, if you know Miss McFarland's 10th grade class, you know the oratorical contest, the Optimist Club contest, and she's running that again on April 16th, and I'm putting that out there because she offers it through her 10th grade classes, but she also opens it up to other students if they'd like to. So 11th graders or 12th graders who have done it before in the past with Miss McFarland, if they want to jump into the contest, they have that opportunity too. And she sent out information in a Canvas inbox for people to be able to participate in if she'd like to. So those are my updates.
Thank you. Mr. Rocco is got something in the chat there.
Can I ask a quick question to Dr. Van Laer?
Yeah, go for it.
For the ninth grade pie event, did you say it was $4 a pie?
Yeah.
Okay, because I'll send a message to the ninth grade parents, and maybe the other grade liaisons could send a message so the kids bring money if they can.
That
So
would
just
be
wanted to make sure.
That would be fantastic. I do want to say that they came to us, I think, on Monday and have
Yeah, I
pulled
was
this
thinking
together in
probably.
like 4 days.
Yeah, not
Um,
surprising. Thank you.
yeah, thanks. I appreciate it.
And Mr. Rocco put in the chat the deadline for the Amazon Periscope summer internship applications for 10th graders is Monday, March 16th. Thank you for that. All right, next slide.
All right.
Treasurer Sam.
Hi, everybody. I did volunteer for one more year. My son's at least one more year. My son's a freshman this year, so I will continue to be your treasurer for another year. Not asking to leave. It's a hard one to change out, but it's not so bad when you're in it. So if you're thinking about it in a couple of years, happy to high five out of it and let someone else take, but I'm fine for another year at least. So, not a lot going on in the last month or two. We've had a couple of additional donations because we do need to continue to collect a little money here in the spring. If you see toward the bottom, it says still to raise 3,300, and it's hidden, but it's basically for giving money back toward the Teachers for Appreciation, teacher appreciation gift cards. We have 3,500 specifically. It's on the third line from the top, 3,500 for teacher appreciation gift cards. And we have not collected a lot of money for that. But you can also see that we've only spent $6,600 so far. So we have a lot of money left still to spend in the to spend column. That means that we still have some grants that are outstanding that people haven't asked for money back. But that makes a lot of sense too, because the student activities, usually it's the end of year parties. You see EOY, end of year under student activities for different grade levels for ninth, 10th, 11th, and the prom especially. So we do have money set aside for these end of year events. So we'll see in the next few months, this is really going to shift and change. And we'll be spending more of that money. So we have had two new donations in the last 2 months, an additional $200 donated. Thank you to everybody who donates all the time. As we've said before, we are the organization that is a no frills, no difficulty fundraiser. If you can give, great, give. We're not going to try and take your time too. So yeah, that's it for me. Not a lot going on between the last 3 months. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, and we appreciate your leadership for this year and next. Appreciate it. All right. Yep, we got some upcoming dates, as we mentioned, off the pike coming up. The culinary program restaurant night. Get your reservations in. I will say, get them in early. And yeah, we last time in this building, we don't know what the program will look like next year for having a restaurant night. So maybe the last one. Um, Girls in STEM, did that already happen? Is that,
No, and
or is
we
that
moved it to April because we haven't planned it. So
okay?
April 18th is what we're shooting for.
All right, we will change that up. April 18th. Good to know. We can put that in the notes for Girls in STEM, Grace, formerly Girls in STEM, now called Grace Hopper Day. I'm sure everyone is aware of spring break, counting the days. I know we are in this house. So March 30th to April 3rd. And just a new kind of addition to our calendar, April 9th, which is our next ATAC meeting date, but we are turning it into our next parent social. More on that in our next slide. And the last date on here will be April 23rd is our admitted students night. So the new students coming in that just accepted their spots for next year will be coming into the school. So as I said, next slide, April 9th, ooh, did I get the date wrong? April 19th. That should say April 9th. Sorry.
No, it should be 19th.
Is it 19th?
I think because 19th is wait. No.
Did the other
9th
slide
is
have the wrong day?
9th is a Thursday.
Hold on, let me just,
ATAC is on the 9th. 9th is a Thursday. So this is wrong. It should be the 9th.
it is the 9th. Yeah, it's usually earlier. Sorry. All right, we will fix that slide. April 9th, not 19th, is our next parent social. And everything else is correct on here. We are going to be having a little bit of a giving back event to coincide with the upcoming uh, teacher appreciation. And we are going to be making You Matter care packages for the teachers. And we're going to ask folks to bring little small donations, little snacks, little chocolates, markers, sticky notes, notepads, little things to put in little care packages. And everybody will be assembling them as we go along, talking and socializing and making little care packages for our teachers while we all have a little social. So more to come. Time and location will be TBD, and obviously we will correct that date. I put a 1 in by accident. I apologize. So April 9th is our parent social, and we will just throw in a couple of business meeting agenda items like we did last time when we met in person. So keep that on your calendar, April 9th. And now it's time to hear from our guest speakers. We're really excited tonight to talk about the Stones. So, if you all are familiar, there's a great program within our school that culminates on senior year with the capstone. But maybe you're not as familiar that this program really starts in ninth grade. So, that the students are prepared for their capstone in starting with their freshman year. Dr. Van Leer mentioned that the juniors this year are about to have their mock interviews, and so the program really starts their freshman year, and they get ready all throughout the whole entirety of their school um, school year each year. And so we kind of call it the Stones. And Mr. Rocco and Miss Kaufman are going to talk a little bit more about that for us tonight. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Do you all have
We
slides, or are we going to be
we
running?
do have slides.
Up
Uh,
there they are.
okay. Yes. So I'm going to start. I'm Mickey Kaufman. I'm the capstone coordinator, and we're going to talk about probably more about the junior senior year. But go ahead and hit the first slide. Um, As I said, each year there's a different stone. In ninth grade, it's really building the foundation. All the students are in the engineering exploration class. They have, the PBL project that they're doing. 10th grade is more beginning the explorations. That's the year they do the best life fair. The junior year, we have Archstone, which is kind of the arch heading into capstone, their senior year. And capstone is really the idea is that it's individualized, it's students pulling together what is going to help them, in their next phase of life. So we're going to go ahead to the next slide. So there, I noticed a couple familiar last names. Capstone actually is going to be changing going into next year compared to what it had been previous years. The actual course code that we were using was dropped by the Virginia Department of Ed. And so the new course, we're linking it to an independent study. So starting next year, students will have an experiential capstone, which is where students go out and work with either an industry partner or a post-secondary partner doing internships, scholarly research, or independent projects. All students have to take the 4 core classes: English, math, science, and the social studies, and then they'll have the independent study. And then we also have the educational capstone option where students tend to have more of a fuller schedule. They're doing the 4 core and doing 2 credits electives, and they're working towards industry certifications and or their general ed certificate from Nova or their associate's degree. So the seniors kind of have a choice as to which of these 2 options they are more interested in. Go ahead and go to the next one. If they're doing the experiential one, they're in the leadership capstone. It's an actual course. We say that kind of the experience runs from Labor Day to Memorial Day. There are actual asynchronous assignments, which make up about 60% of the course grade. And then they have a site evaluation that their employers do, quick evaluations each month. Mrs. Duraco goes and visits the sites twice a year. Once a month, I meet with the students, and when they do showcases. We track their hours and school links, which is we place Naviance, and then at the end of the year, there's a culminating project that they do. So go ahead to the next one. As I mentioned, there's internships. Probably a good 90% of the students do some kind of internship. We have had teaching assistant positions inside the school. That is something that, due to some of the changes happening from the Department of Ed, will be dropped moving forward, that we have to be using external partners, whether it's a business, an organization, it's a post-secondary institution, but we have to have an external partner. So it can be internships, some college research. We've had students in the past work with Dr. Miller with some of the NASA research that he's been doing. Students can also work on personal projects. We've had students create individual games or apps for phones. We have a student who is working on rebuilding the car, working with the electric car. We had another student last year who built a greenhouse. So those are some of the examples of things that students are doing. Next. Junior year art show. And this is the year that students are getting ready. And so through Archstone, which is a course that's listed in Canvas, and students do the work sort of asynchronous through Archer's period. So it's a combination of Archer's period and the stone to get the arch stone. They're doing these various assignments, and there's a final project is an online portfolio. And the whole idea is, how do you start presenting yourself in the best light? And this link to the English grade. So it's written, which is part of building resumes, oral, which is mock interviews, and then digital, which is this online portfolio. So next. So kind of looking at Archstone over the year, we started in October where we had to have them do some career assessments. We had them do some personal reflecting on why did they come to Arlington Tech? Why are they staying in Arlington Tech? What are the classes that they've liked? Then we worked on the resume. Each week we broke down the resume into a different section, the heading, the education, work experiences, clubs, activities, certification. So each week they were collecting all that information and then pulling it all together in their final resumes, which were due in January. During that same kind of period as an overlap, Mrs. Duraco and I did some presentations about Capstone. And then I met with every junior individually to talk about what are they interested in, kind of explain the different kinds of capstones so we could start knowing where our students were interested in each year. It's very different. Some years we have a lot of students interested in vet. This year we have a lot of students interested in health and medical and aviation. So it's kind of helping us see where our gaps are with our partners, so we can start building. Resumes, have been due. I've been reviewing them, giving them back for feedback. In February, the seniors do a showcase for the juniors where they have handouts and they talk to the juniors to answer their questions. Course requests are going on at that time. As Michelle said, on March 25th, we have 32 different employer tables. We'll be interviewing about 130 students. Arlington Tech juniors and some seniors from some of the other programs. So it's a 30-minute mock interview. They actually have the questions in their Archstone assignments right now to be working on for the answers. After the mock interviews, we'll finalize our list of sites, and students can apply through school links with companies reaching out and interviewing in May. And hopefully we'll have most of the students placed in June, and then they start in April. Next. One of the things, students were increasingly going to be moving to students being eligible for capstone, that, they've shown that they're doing the lessons, they're engaged. They, have completed that resume. If they haven't had a resume, they can't reach out to we can't send anything to employers. And participating in the mock interviews to practice interviews, get those skills ready. And then next year, we're also going to start asking for a teacher recommendation form to get some feedback for the teachers as to what we need to be working with the students to help them get ready. And next. And then I'll pass it off to Nicole since she does more of the employer side.
Yeah, so like Ms. Kaufman said, at the end of April, beginning of May, we're going to post all of the internships that we have secured. And we know that there are some families that will find their own capstones, which is fine. We don't expect families or the student to be able to explain all the ins and outs of capstone. So we do need to meet with any partners that are found outside of our list just to explain the paperwork and make sure that everything is a go. Like she said, I do have to do my visits twice a year. So just to make sure everyone is okay with all of those things. So if there's something very niche, that might be another, that might be something to reach out to me early on. We kind of, a lot of our internships do kind of fall in place with a lot of our pathways that we have at the school. It doesn't have to be that way. I mean, we also have students that are, interested in creative writing or interested in publishing, and we do our best to try to match students with things that aren't necessarily considered STEM or tech. So we work hard to try to find partners. It's not an easy sell. A full year of having a high school intern but it's our students are outstanding and they really do give back. And so once organizations and businesses are on board, it's usually they end up staying on for a while. So we will have an internal process when it comes to deciding which internships a student can apply to. So a student can apply to as many internships as they'd like. I mean, within reason. I don't know if you want to, whatever you apply to, you have to interview for. So I'm not sure. We try to keep it, within a handful. And we will then send the resume to our partners, and the partners will interview from there. If the students have multiple offers, they will have to decide which placement they would like. Again, any outside partner should meet with us just so that we can explain all the ins and outs. Yeah, so these are all of the things a partner would have to do. If you do have someone that you'd like to that you're thinking of for your student's internship, I'm happy to share the work agreement, share the training plan. The training plan, we're always working on that every year, but basically it's what it helps the student understand exactly what their responsibility is while they're on site, but also helps the supervisor understand what the student would like to get out of the experience. So we do quarterly evaluations, and that goes into our site grade. And then, of course, I do have to visit. Vicki, do you want to take this one?
So this is just a sample schedule. A lot of times the students have the 4 core classes. We try to have most of those classes offered earlier in the day so that students can have their 5th block off to leave and go to the work site. So most students have classes, block 1 through 4, and then 5th block is free. This year it was a little more nuanced. We've had a couple of students who actually had the morning free, so they did their capstone in the morning and then came in the afternoon. We had one student actually, came in for first period and then left. So there were, we try to work the schedule around, but generally we try to work with the master schedule so that students have 5th block off. Sometimes it just depends on certain electives that they have chosen, are only offered during 5th block. So that's where they kind of have to make a choice as to whether they want that extra elective or they would rather have that be out early. A lot of the seniors generally have been taking the 4 core and 1 elective in capstone. So yeah. So, next slide. Transportation is the student's responsibility. We do have a partnership with Metro that, students get all Metro, can you get Metro bus cards for free to take Metro around. Obviously, there's art transportation system and things like that. But, students are responsible for the transportation to get themselves to and from their sites. So kind of, all the resumes that have been submitted have been reviewed at least once. Several of them have been reviewed a couple times. Their final resumes, I've asked for them to be ready by March 23rd so I can make copies for the mock interviews on the 25th. Everything is in Archstone that if you want to take a look, just have your kid log into Archstone. We're continuing to work with businesses to build up our list. And we'll be if you look in the Archstone, we also have posted a lot of internships that came in throughout the season. Genesis Works, which is one of our bigger partners, it's actually a 20-hour internship. They do an onboarding in the summer, and then it's 20 hours a week during the school year, and they place students. We've had students placed at Accenture, and they do a lot of business IT. Students make over $10,000 working for them. So their application is actually due this weekend, but there's a lot of things already posted in the Archstone class for some external sites. Next. This is both of our contact information. for, if you want to reach out to email or call us. And then the last slide is just some of the logos from some of the various partners that, some of the sites that we've actually been with them for multiple years. Urban Alliance was a partner before I got there. Goodwin House, Cowan Design Groups, just Smithsonian Air and Space is a real popular site. So these are just some of the logos of some of our partner sites.
I think
And
one of the
that
biggest, yeah, I think, have we talked about hours though, Mickey, or is that coming up?
Hours, yeah, that's one of the things. It's 150 hours for the capstone. It's roughly 5 hours a week. Is what the expectation is. The minimum is what the expectation is. All right. So now we're open for questions and things.
Well, I threw in one more slide if you go one
Okay.
more.
Okay.
So I just wanted to go back to that idea of the stones and what the stones are for each grade level and how that's getting you ready for the capstone. And then we'll open it up for questions for Ms. Kaufman and Ms. Duraco. So in ninth grade, the stone tends to be very structured. It's a cornerstone. We call it the cornerstone. This year, the question, it's a little more complicated than this, but the question is, how can we create a rooftop garden for the new building? They're designing a rooftop garden that will be right outside the library. And each um, content area takes a section of this project. And then students have to bring them all together in social studies. And we have a town hall where students give a presentation on what their pitch is for the rooftop garden and how we would plan it. We bring in experts. And so there's a big focus on you're meeting with experts, you're doing a real life project, you're presenting, and you're able to defend your ideas, be able to solve a problem and defend your ideas, which is something they're doing in their classes all along, specifically engineering for sure. So that's it's a very structured capstone, but it's starting to work on those skills that we know students need for the capstone that they do in 12th grade. The 10th grade is a little bit more open-ended. It's called the Keystone. This teachers do lessons about wellness. All the 8 dimensions of wellness is connected to all their content throughout the year. At the end of the year in English class, Miss McFarland does a project where students have to pick something that they learned in Arlington Tech. Students tend to learn to pick something that they learned in one of their classes. They get together in groups and they decide to do a presentation teaching somebody else how to live their best life based on what they learned in their content area. And then we have what we call a wellness fair. And you are welcome to come to that. It's going to be May 22nd in the morning from 8 to 12. And all of the students put on, it's kind of like a science fair idea, but they all have to do interactive presentations. They do a really great job of something that is connected to wellness and then also showcases what it is that they've learned in their year. 11th grade Archstone, we just talked about that, which is the online program and class to get students ready for the capstone. So that's the overarching idea of the stones moving into capstone. Heidi asked the question. I saw uh,
I can unmute and ask it if that's easier.
Oh yeah, that's a bit, yeah.
So my first question is, as we see students, we see ninth grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and especially in 11th grade, Mickey, we've heard from you that, it sounds like a pretty intense experience, a lot of things. And I'm just hoping that we can kind of stop and think how you're hoping, is it that you don't want parents touching this at all? Is it that you're hoping that they're doing a lot? I think that a lot of parents aren't really sure how you want us to be engaging in this process.
I think parents, I want them encouraging the students working on their resumes, asking, as we're getting ready for the mock interviews, if you want to take a look at, have they looked at the questions and start getting ready. I think, a lot more of kind of encouraging them, to it's really them starting to take the initiative and doing the follow through, because especially when they get out on the capstone site, it's the employers, may only tell them one time to do something and they need to. So I think it's kind of the beginning of that, looking back and encouraging them to do things, but making sure they're doing it on their own. Nicole, do you want to add?
Well, I think the Archstone course is where most of, you know, the deliverables that we want ready and prepared for capstone live. So you can always look there to see if those assignments are done, if they need any help or any assistance. We're always also here if you wanted to talk about anything, or the student can always visit with us if they had any questions. But I think I hope that answers your question, but
Yeah,
they're still they're
that's
still
definitely.
young and they're still learning, and this is a process. And so we want them as prepared as possible, but also know it's, even the mock interviews, it's just all about practice and getting ready and trying to put your best self forward. So, uh,
Yeah, and can I just add on to that? And I think Heidi was getting to this with the question as well. I think that the shift when it comes to capstone is the parent has to become a coach on the side, as opposed to, you're not expected to facilitate anything for your student, that the student really has to take the initiative, because the idea is if you're ready for the capstone, then you have to take that initiative. I was on a panel today with students talking about work-based learning, and one of the students said the biggest challenge for me in going into work-based learning was I realized how much guided work I was doing in school and how work-based learning isn't guided, that I had to be able to take the initiative myself. And I think that's, obviously that's what the lesson that we want students to get out of this as well. That's a powerful lesson about how do you figure out how to take initiative in the workplace, as well as exploring what you like, and being able to develop durable skills. So I think that if coaches can, or if parents can kind of think overall of how best can I coach my student to deal with any conflicts that come up, or take initiative, those coaching conversations I think are really valuable during the capstone.
and another good question, Heidi, is there a possibility that a student wanting to do a capstone won't get a capstone? So some of these are really competitive, and they can put their resume forward, and it may be several students interview and only maybe one, two, or three slots at a specific company. Um, but if a student really wants to do capstone, we have, hopefully we can find an opportunity that's available, and we will work with the student. I think what ends up happening a lot of times is a student will sign up on their CRF card, their course request form, and they will want to do capstone, but then not apply at all. And those students, I think, are more who we would say, well, maybe elective courses are a little bit of a better option. But if there's a student that really wants to get placed and is really good, we will definitely work with them.
And looking at the next question about sports and clubs, a lot of the students in Capstone are involved in sports and clubs. A lot are on the robotics teams. And that's some of the things that I talk to them when I do the one-on-one, is for them to be very mindful of what all they're involved in. And there are certain capstones, such as Urban Alliance, that expects the students from 3 to 5 every day. And a capstone like that, it's would be be difficult to do a club or sport. We have other capstones that are completely asynchronous. Students are working on their own hours. So part of that comes when we have our list of potential sites, what is going to work with the best fit for you and their schedule. So we've had lots of students on the robotics team. Some sites want the students 2 days a week. Each site varies. So, and also, capstone was 280 hours or 140. Now, with it only being 150, 5 hours a week, I think that's going to also give some students some more flexibility, with the other clubs and things. Does it replace 1 or 2 periods? It's 1 period. But students have to take the 4 core and capstone. So a lot of students will have 2 and 3 flex periods in their schedule. Um, so, you know, I think that answers that. Let's see.
Is there a
I'm just going.
syllabus for Archstone?
It's not really a course, so it's kind of just like assignments, for that.
So
Michelle,
it's,
you
yeah, I'll just say quickly, the Archstone is a course on on Canvas. And so all of the assignments, the syllabus is basically the Canvas class. They're all laid out by the dates and the weeks that students have done it. And the checks happen in English class, and the students can make up, they have the whole quarter to make up anything they want to. And then by the end of the quarter, the grade goes into English. So checking Archstone for what those assignments are, you can see if you ask your student to open up Archstone, you can see what was done there. It's laid out just in modules by dates.
And for the actual capstone course, whatever is in the 504 IEP, I follow that because with that, I follow whatever is in the 504 for the IEP. The question about the summer hours, when we started.
Let's just go back to the 504 IEP one. If you're talking about on-site, whether or not we cannot disclose anything to partners. So if you wanted to disclose anything to a business or an organization where the internship is happening, that would have to be done by on the student side. We can't do that. We're not legally allowed.
Thank you. Can I just follow up on that? So I appreciate what you said as far as like you have to follow the IEP. I'm also aware of what Michelle said as far as like, it's a big jump to go into the workforce, right? Like, and it's a challenge for a lot of students, which is a wonderful challenge. But I'm just wondering if there's anything in particular that you're thinking about as you prepare students for that challenge, when we know that, there's some students who have particular needs in that way.
So, I mean, there is a work-school balance that is sometimes difficult. I think for us having, lowering the number of hours per week, that is now the minimum. It was, 8 to 10, which, if a student was going after school for 2 hours every day, that was hard for them to maintain. But I think our partners understand and are and we're always there to support the student also. It's just, that gets into a little gray area with us being able to share. But I don't know about, do you talk about scaffolding the process of applying or?
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to this presentation and I was like, but frankly, I will tell you, I was completely overwhelmed. Like just listening to it, went really, really fast. I appreciate you had so much information to share, Ms. Kaufman. And I was like, oh my gosh, like if I was, maybe it's different for these students because they've been hearing about it for years. And to be honest, like 90% of what I heard is the first time I've heard it. And that's probably on me. But as I heard it, I just thought this is a lot that these students have to do. And I'm just wondering, like, do you hear that from students? Do they struggle with the process of the mock interviews and the resumes and the, all of the process of even getting to the thing? Is that a struggle for a lot of students, or are they feeling pretty comfortable?
I think I think that's part of what the art show was for, is when I first got here, students were just expected to have a resume. There wasn't a mechanism for it to be worked on. And I think, the first time I talked to the students about any of this is I push into the 10th grade SDV course and I start, bringing up the ideas and we talk about the resumes there. And then we have several meetings with the students throughout the year, to talk about this. Okay, I see Maya Millhouse has her hand up. So I think, we take all of these, it's not like, here, go do a resume. We've had meetings about that. We've had meetings about mock interviews. We've had meetings about capstone. We've had meetings about the online portfolio. They're doing things in the English classes. So you're getting all of this in like really compressed, where we have kind of spread it out over the entire year. So.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Do you want to say something, Maya?
I just wanted to say that I'm a senior, so I'm taking my capstone right now. I just work at our school newspaper. I I've heard from like my other friends how like they've had like difficulties at like being at like a new job and like really being working. But I mean, the door to like Miss Kaufman's room and your teachers are like always open and available. So it's always easy to address any issues, and it's very manageable with like the assignments being available for like the entire month. So it's definitely not as daunting when you get there. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Maya.
Thank you. Yeah. Um, so
I think the next
uh,
question was about summer internship, counting summer hours.
I think some of this confusion has come because things from the Virginia Department of Ed were changing throughout this year. And previous year, we had a 2 credit, 280-hour capstone where students could count 100 hours towards that 280, with the remaining 180 being done during the academic year. With not being able to do the 1 credit, 2 credit option, we shifted to just the 1 credit with 150 hours. Students can still work over the summer, but the hours aren't going to be counted towards the capstone, towards because it's only 150 hours versus a balance of 180. So with students doing 5 hours a week throughout the year, the fifth period that also kind of ties into what is a flex period. They're just, students don't have a class, it's a study hall, it's a flex period, and they can leave the building early during their senior year. So that's kind of what a flex period is. And a lot of students like having that their senior year. You might be able to talk about this, especially when they're applying for colleges and during the essays and working with Mr. Duraco, having that extra flexible period is very useful for them. And the academic capstone the educational one is really just the fuller schedule, where they're not actually in the capstone course and going out on sites. So.
Yeah, we call it the educational capstone just to highlight for us that are deciding to take more classes as opposed to doing the experiential capstone. So basically, it just means that they're taking their classes senior year and they're not doing an experiential capstone.
And students are not expected to be available in the summer for onboarding. Unless that has been decided between the student and the partner. If the partner is offering an opportunity for the summer and they want to start early, that's okay. A lot of times students will agree to that if there's a paid opportunity in the summer and they want to begin, that's fine. And then usually if it can continue on and through the school year, but there's no expectation of that. We let our partners know this is typically what we say is Labor Day to Memorial Day opportunity.
And capstone has never been a graduation requirement. It's just part of the Arlington Tech program.
Yeah, it's not a graduation requirement. It's just an elective.
I have a kiddo that's interested in the Genesis works. I'm curious if you've had folks in the past, kids in the past, or how many you've had do that program.
2 so far.
Sorry,
No
how
one
many?
this year. 2.
2?
Yeah, we didn't have any students this year, and we had 2 the previous year. I think the reason is because of the amount of commitment.
Yep.
Can the dual degree be achieved with the experiential capstone? Or yes, we have students who are doing the experiential capstone and getting their associate's degrees. So, yeah. And that was also one of the thoughts of, making the educational option for some students. But I think we've gotten better at sequencing the dual enrollment classes across the years at, at the Career Center. And Ms. Meg, our Nova counselor, is great. It's sitting down and mapping it out, with students starting in 9th and 10th grade. So, but yeah, we have, several of the students who are getting their associate's degrees are also doing an experiential capstone.
I think that's probably the best way you have scaffolded this experience is that you've given these options that you can go to work, or if you want to stay and focus on your academics, those are, that's an option too.
Really good questions. I want to just kind of reiterate what Mickey, Ms. Kaufman, kind of pointed out, and that is that there is a lot of time and a lot of meetings that happened or stepstones that happen before anyone is actually choosing whether they're doing an experiential or whether they're doing an academic. Every student has had a one-on-one meeting with Ms. Kaufman and Mr. Rocco so they can hear about what's happening. Um, they've had the chance to talk to seniors. They do the showcase so that they can come down to the capstone to the commons and sit with seniors and hear about their experience and find out really what it meant day to day, what they did. There is, the steps of the mock interviews. During 10th grade, the SDV is the course that's pushed into either chemistry or English, where Miss Magro and Miss Kaufman meet with students to talk a little bit about DE and about the capstone as well. So it's been this general introduction going through. At no point was a large amount, a chunk given to students to figure out. And then eventually, when they get to the end of their junior year, that's when they're making decisions about what to apply to, and it shakes out. This past year, I just want to commend Mr. Rocco and Ms. Kaufman that students were, it's so individualized, making sure everyone's ready to go at the beginning of the year is really, really hard. So the fact that we had so many students that started right off the bat in September and October and August this year is really commendable.
We have 66 this year do the experiential capstone out of 82 seniors. They're great. The quarterly evaluations that we ask the employers to do, that helps give input towards the class grade and then also the meetings with Mrs. Duraco. 90 some percent of the time, the site grade is an A from the employers, and then the other part of the grade comes from the work they do in the actual capstone course. Um, we do a big leadership unit. We look at leadership theories. We look at leadership styles. We talk about goal setting and creating goals for the year. The back half of the year in the capstone course, they're updating their resumes. They're doing elevator pitches, cover letters, the brochure for the showcase. The final showcase for seniors is May 21st from 4 to 5:30 if anybody wants to come. Most of the grade comes from the assignments in the course, and then we do get quarterly evaluations and input from the site visits from the employers. Like I said, the vast majority of the time it's an A. And if there's something going on, there's conversations, many, many conversations that happen throughout the year if there's something that's not working on a site with the student.
If you'd like to come to our showcase in May, so you can just kind of see what the students, some of the partners are, some of the experiences, the students here. It is science fair style. They'll have a trifold, and they'll be able to talk about their opportunity, their experience with their company. Thursday, May 21st, Mickey? Thursday, May 21st after school. It's at around 3:34. We haven't quite decided. Yeah. And so we can send out that information, and it might be you can bring your student also just to look around and see what there is. That was the idea of our junior showcase also, where we had the juniors come down and see what the seniors have been doing.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. Are there any other questions? Again, thank you, Ms. Kaufman, Mr. Rocco. We really, really appreciate you joining us. And that was so informative. I really think I know as a junior parent myself, I am feeling a lot more confident in the whole process for sure. And I think everyone else is as well. So really appreciate it. Thank you again. And we will have these slides up for everybody that joined us tonight. Last but not least, a real quick peek at our upcoming calendar. Again, April 9th. See, it's correct there. In person, our little social. We'll have details coming up. And the next two meetings after that, the calendar is winding down. Zoom meetings at 8 p.m. as usual. Thank you again for joining us, everybody, and have a great night.